Hey everybody, Randy here. This month on the Work with Purpose podcast, we answer the question, is networking still important to your career? Find out the answer in our episode up next. Hey everybody, welcome to the Work with Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Randy Mahoney Jr. Thanks so much for joining us on this month's episode. If you're new to our show, just to give you a quick overview of what we're doing here, what we're about, the Work with Purpose podcast, our goal is want to bring you practical, helpful advice, education, and encouragement for your career, and trying to bring that to you in episodes that span 20 to 30 minutes. My goal is to bring you practical value, resources that you can use with every single episode. And actually, for our episodes, we do those in seasons. And so you can look for episodes on the first Friday of the month during the time that we are in seasons. And so that's a little bit about our show. And I'll say as we go along, if you find this episode helpful and bringing value to you, I would love it if you would be quick to subscribe to our show if you listen to us on your podcast app of choice, or hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, because we do a video companion to this podcast as well. So now that those are out of the way, I'm excited to get into this month's topic with you. It's actually a viewer request episode from some members of our audience. Today we're going to talk about why networking is still important for your career. Why networking is still important for your career. Let me give a little bit of context here. I said that this was a viewer request episode about networking. So how this came about was that a couple of months ago, at the end of our first season, I sent out a short survey to those in our Work with Purpose community Facebook group and other members of our audience on our social media and things like that, to give you and our audience a chance to share your voice about what topics you'd like to hear about in this season, in season 2. And this was one of the topics that you guys chose. We might have some future episodes later in this season that come back to this survey and just share about some topics that you want to hear about. But that's how this episode came about. You guys voted on it, so I'm going to try to talk about it. So now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get started in talking about what networking is and a couple reasons why I think it's still important for your career. Let's go. All right, so let's jump right into this month's topic, talking about what networking is and some common reasons that I think networking is still important for your career. So to kind of start things off, let's talk about what networking is. So if you're new to our podcast, something I like to do as we talk about the topics of our episodes, I like to give you what's called a big idea. And what a big idea is, it's a 1 or 2 sentence summary that talks about the topic of our episode, to kind of give you this one phrase or one sentence to stick in your mind. I would define networking for your career this way. Networking is when you reach out and nurture relationships with other professionals. Some reasons that I think networking is still important for your career, and I have kind of a newsflash for you. Please, there's a ton of articles online that says, you can be like a self-made person. You don't need anybody else. Take it from me, somebody who currently has employment of teaching career readiness skills. I do this podcast on a part-time basis. I've got experience doing my own career coaching business. I'm here to tell you as clear as I can. You will need to network with other professionals to get ahead in your career, to get to the place that you desire to be in your career. You cannot get there by yourself. And that's actually the first reason that I would tell you networking is still important and continues to be important for your career, is that to get where you want to go in your career, whatever that is, you will need the help of someone else. Now, let me explain that to you. Let's say if you want to have the job of getting, teaching as a professor at the college level. The reason that you might want to reach out to professionals who are working at a college level, whether, a person who is a full-time professor or an adjunct or a part-time professor, the reason why finding and reaching out and nurturing those relationships with other professionals like that would be helpful to you is that you can develop conversations with people who are doing a job or jobs that you would like to do. You're kind of reaching out to people who are, a couple steps ahead of you on your career journey. So you're making that contact with them. And then also in the networking process, you're continuing to practice your social skills, and you're continuing to learn from their experience. You got to take on that mindset that to get where you want to go in your career, you've got to accept the idea that you will need the help of someone else, because there are people who are further along than you, who know things that you need to know that you don't know right now, who have more skills that you need to develop and learn about, and who have more experience. So that's the first reason. Reason number two, like I alluded to just a couple of seconds ago, networking is important for your career because it gives you a learning opportunity that you wouldn't get otherwise. One way that I think of initially is that if you're somebody who, similar to myself, if you're more of an introverted person, you kind of get your energy from your time being alone. Networking, it forces people like us to get out of our shell and practice our social skills, our conversational skills. And we need to do that because if we had our way as an introverted person, we would kind of just not talk to anybody, do our own thing, stay in our lane. But networking is an important process for introverts and extroverts, for all people, because it gives us some learning opportunity, whether it's practicing our social skills, whether it's a chance to ask really good questions of other professionals. You really enter into a really great learning process that's pretty unique. The third reason that I would tell you that networking has been important for your career, and it'll continue to be important for your career, is that networking can allow you to tap into something called the hidden job market. The hidden job market. Now, if you haven't heard of this term, the hidden job market, before, I'll try to sum it up as best as I can. But the hidden job market is that there are job postings for many companies, different industries, different fields. There are job postings that are out there that are never posted on a company's career website or join our team page of their website. So the way that you as a professional can access those job postings or job leads that are coming up for certain companies that are not posted online yet is through building those intentional relationships with other professionals. I'll give you an example, and I'll try to apply this from my own experience. With my experience as a career coach and teaching career skills on a part-time basis, I'll share that as I think about the next decades of my work as a professional, a desire that I have is to actually venture more into career services work with college students. So with that goal in mind for myself personally, as I think about the way that I can use my skills and my gifts to serve and help other people, about a year or 2 years ago, something that I started to do was I started to intentionally network or do some things that are called informational interviews with specific professionals who are working in career services in higher education. And the mindset that I took with that was that I really wanted to ask these professionals, what do they like about their role? What did they like about the institutions that they work for? If they could do their role over again, what would they change? From my networking experiences, I really got to learn a lot from these higher ed professionals, current professionals in higher ed, former professionals in higher ed. I got to learn a lot from them. Okay, so real quick, let's review those 3 reasons that networking is still important for you in your career. Number 1, we said that networking is still important because it's about you accepting that mindset to get where you want to go in your career. You will need the help of someone else. Number 2, we also said networking is important because it can give you a learning opportunity in your own career development. And then number 3, we said that networking can allow you to access the hidden job market, or those job postings, job vacancies that you won't always find on a company's website, but you learn about those opportunities through developing those intentional relationships with other professionals. All right, so after the break, we'll get into our application questions and wrapping up this month's episode. So stick around. You're listening to the Work with Purpose podcast, and we'll be right back. Hey everybody, Randy here. I'm taking a short break from this episode to give you an opportunity to check out a specific resource that I made just for you. It's a slide deck I've created to help you use the website LinkedIn to have a successful informational interview. Haven't done one before? That's okay. This slide deck will help you learn about what an informational interview is, what questions to ask, and more. Now, I'm selling this resource in 2 different ways. 1, for free, or 2, for a suggested donation. You can purchase this resource by visiting my website, wwpcast.com/shop. Again, that's wwpcast.com/shop. Oh, and one more thing. Remember, every donation helps to fund future seasons of the Work with Purpose podcast. So be assured, your giving is going to a great cause. Now, let's get back to the show. All right, welcome back to the Work with Purpose podcast. This month, our topic is all about why is networking still important for your career. This is a viewer request episode from our survey back at the end of season 1 from members of our audience. So now we're going to get into our application questions. This is my favorite part of every episode that we do. If you want to get a copy of these application questions, we put those in our application guide. It's a free download that we create for every episode that we do. You can get this month's application guide at our website, wwpcast.com. That's wwpcast.com. You can get a copy of our application guide. It's got links that are featured in this episode. It's got a copy of these questions that I'm going to walk you through with space to fill in your answers. These questions are important because they help you apply this month's topic that we're talking about and help you think about it in a deeper way. I think it'll help you and serve you well. Now that I've talked about it, let's get into our application questions for this month, all about networking. Okay, so application question number 1. What I want you to do between now and the weeks between now and our next month's episode is I want you to first think about what job title or career you'd like to stay in or move into in the next 2 to 3 years. And so I just want you to write out your top 3 ideas. What job title, what career, what industry would you want to move into the next 2 or 3 years? And the reason I'm having you do this question is because I really want you to get narrowed down, get specific, get clear about where do you want to go. Because in my experience of advising young adults and adults on their career journey, I really like to have them start from a really clear place of, I know I want to get into the education field. I want to move into computer programming. I really want to be a graphic designer. Really getting narrowed down on what industry you're interested in and thinking from that from a 2-year, from a 3-year perspective, it's really going to get you started off on the right foot. Okay, so now that we talked through the first application question, here's application question number 2. And that is, after you've gotten clear and specific on job titles or an industry that you want to move into in the next 2 to 3 years, I then want you to go a step further and think about 3 to 5 professionals that you could reach out to and contact to network with. And so what I want you to do with this question is over the next couple of weeks, as you kind of think about those relationships in your life, coworkers, and reach out to other professionals, I want you to think about and write down 3 to 5 professionals who you think you could network with and who you could reach out to try to learn from. For those 3 to 5 professionals, I want you to write down their job title, I want you to write down their name, and I want you to write down a reason that you think by you networking with them, how they could be helpful to you. And then the last question for this month is actually not a question at all. I wanted to put a career resource that I made that is really specific to this topic about networking and interviews. I wanted to put it in front of you again, and that is my career slide deck on using LinkedIn for informational interviews. So I'll put a link to it below in our show notes. If you look below this video, if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you download our application guide from our website, you can find a link to that. I think it's practical, it's realistic, it's helpful. I think it'll meet you right where you're at. It talks about what an informational interview is. It'll give you information on what questions to ask somebody if you want to, network or learn from a professional and really get the information you need to make a wise career choice. I even have a sample script in there that you can use that I've developed and when I've had informational interviews myself. So I want to put that in front of you. Again, that's my career slide deck on using LinkedIn for informational interviews. You can find that in our application guide for this episode, and that's at our website, wwpcast.com. That's wwpcast.com. Okay, and that brings us to the end of this month's episode all about networking. So if you liked this show, I want to say I would encourage you to leave us a rating or a review wherever you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app or on YouTube or on your other platforms as well. Also, I want to remind you, visit our website, wwpcast.com. Get your application guide. It's absolutely free. You can get our application questions that we develop for you in each episode. And then last but not least, if you want to keep the conversation going, find us on Facebook at the Work with Purpose Community. That's the Work with Purpose Community. That's our private Facebook group for people who want to keep talking about their career, keep working in their best self as the best possible way. I think you'll get a lot out of that. Until next time, until our next month's episode, I want to say thank you so much for listening to us. My name is Randy Mahoney, and until next time, remember, you've been made with purpose, so work with purpose. I'll see you soon. Hey, thanks so much for checking out the Work with Purpose podcast here on YouTube. If you found this episode helpful, if it encouraged you, please click the like button, the subscribe button, and hit the bell icon here on YouTube so that you can stay in the know when we update new episodes and that you don't miss a thing. Also, be sure to check out our website at wwpcast.com. That's kind of our home base for everything. So until next time, I'm Randy Mahoney Jr. telling you to work with purpose.